The funny thing is, if you look at the environment now, Bitcoin be at like 47s, 48. Um, if you measure retail, like the retail FOMO interest, it's as low as when Bitcoin was at 4,000. It's like it really disappeared. The first time Bitcoin went to 64,000, there was a ton of FOMO interest. And I know you guys know that too. Like views on our videos were like 200,000 plus. Everything was like going crazy, right? And then when it fell down to 28,000, it seems like all that FOMO interest disappeared. We climbed back to 69,000. The FOMO just wasn't the same. And now that we're at 47,000, there's like no FOMO. And that's the funny thing. So I think after we hit 70,000 and we break through 69, that FOMO factor will come back in again. And it always does. Every time we go up a lot, there's going to be a lot of FOMO. But this time around, with FOMO, with the institutions still buying, the banks and they're all FOMOing right now. And plus you have the guys like Do Kwon from Terra that's still buying. Michael Saylor still buying. He has another $200 million he could use to buy Bitcoin, right? I think it's going to drive Bitcoin into.
Hey, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily. Today we're joined by the great, the powerful, the legendary George of CryptosRUs. You know him, you love him, you subscribe to him. George, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me back on.
Dude, thanks for coming on. Now for the folks at home who might not be familiar with you, could you please give us an introduction or your background into cryptocurrency?
Yeah, sure. Been in the game since 2013, been riding the wave, up and down for, I think three times now. Obviously we had some good years, some bad years. I've been through it all, did mining, and now I'm more into staking, using DeFi, but also of course, buying and holding Bitcoin and the really good altcoins. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk about that, George. Curious to hear your thoughts on the state of the market. You've been through multiple cycles. Are you leaning bullish? Are you leaning bearish when it comes to Bitcoin?
Oh, I'm always bullish to a fault, but I do feel like we are no longer going through 4-year cycles. I do believe the previous 4-year cycles that Bitcoin experienced in regards to a 3-year crypto winter and 1 year of exponential growth, I believe that 4-year cycle is over with. Now, Bitcoin itself still has the halving event every 4 years. I recognize that. But because of the institutions, how much they bought in 2021, and how the miners no longer really sell. They don't need to because everyone is borrowing against their Bitcoin, and they utilize that collateral, borrow hundreds of millions of dollars, and then there's no reason for them to sell anymore. So because of institutional adoption and the new strategy that the miners are following, I think the 4-year cycle is over with. And I think we're seeing that right now because we're in the 5th year. Technically, Bitcoin should be falling a lot more. We should be heading down towards 10,000. And I don't believe anyone believes that at this point. We are coming back up and we're doing kind of a slow step upwards back to our high of 69,000. I do believe we will see that this year and we will shatter through it. So I think this 4-year cycle notion of, 3 bad years, 1 good year, that's out the window. And we're just going to do slow and steady, stair steps upwards. We'll still continue to have volatility. There's still, manipulators out there. There's still whales out there that's doing their thing. But overall, we're heading upwards.
Let me throw 2 fundamental Bitcoin metrics at you and give me your take, because one's bullish, one's bearish. On the bullish side, Bitcoin supply on exchanges, I believe, is at a 3-year low, meaning people are scooping up Bitcoin off exchanges, which is bullish. On the other hand, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust to GBTC has been trading at about a 25% discount practically this whole year, which means if an institution or Wall Street investor buys Bitcoin off of Grayscale, you basically buy 4 Bitcoin, get the 5th one free if it's a 25% discount. How do you think about that when two different metrics are pointing in two different directions?
Well, that's an interesting look at things. In terms of reserves, here's the thing. You notice that 3 years ago, the reserves skyrocketed on the exchanges. But think about what happened 3 or 4 years ago. It's when all the exchanges started popping up, right? Like Binance popped up 4 years ago. So some of the biggest exchanges out there popped up 4 years ago. And then that's why, yeah, there was an inflow of Bitcoins into the exchanges because people were, getting involved with these new exchanges that had all these new altcoins, and that made sense. But since then, it's been coming down slowly, but now it's like really starting to drop, right? Like you said, it's down to where it was 3 years ago. So I think that's a very bullish indicator, because when you have so many exchanges out there. I mean, like crypto.com and FTX and Binance, of course, and then you still have all the older exchanges like Coinbase and everyone. There's like so many exchanges everywhere. And if you take the cumulative total of Bitcoin on them and it's going down, I mean, you can't argue that is a bullish thing. There's just less of it for people to buy. And eventually it's going to get so low that it's going to be really, really hard to buy. And Bitcoin's price is going to be much, much higher. I think you can't dispute that. It's very bullish. And if you look at metrics that's measuring illiquid supply, which is the reverse of that, just Bitcoins that's basically really out of circulation and really held in long-term cold storage wallets, it's skyrocketing too. And it's going up even at a faster rate now. So those are very bullish things. Now, as for Grayscale, the reason why it doesn't matter Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is at negative 25% discount is, like your example, it's not like if you're an institution, you could buy 4 Bitcoins and go to Grayscale and say, okay, give me 5 back. You can't redeem it. There's no purpose to it. It doesn't matter if the premium is a negative 25% or negative 100%. You could be buying discount at 100%. But if you can't redeem it, what's the point? There's no purpose to it. And I mentioned purpose because we do have a Bitcoin spot ETF, Purpose, up in Canada. And you know what? Their AUM is going up. So what it looks like is a lot of institutions, they rather hold on to a true ETF rather than a trust. And they're buying into the 3 ETFs, I believe, in Canada, and there's more being created around the world. And there's other products like ETNs or ETPs or something, exchange traded products. Yeah. So there's a lot of variety out there. And let's not forget, these big boys, they don't have to buy Grayscale Trust or ETFs. They could buy Bitcoin now. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, they're partnering up with, Galaxy Digital or NYDIG and helping these big boys buy Bitcoin directly. So they don't even have to buy, the trust. So that's the reason why I think the trust is at negative. It doesn't really matter until they do convert to an ETF. Then they will have to figure out how to balance itself out from the negative side. But until that happens, I don't see that as a bearish thing at all.
I think I read Barry Silbert of Grayscale says he's going to sue whoever's in charge if they don't, allow Grayscale to do a spot Bitcoin ETF. So I'm sure he sees that there's demand and opportunity there, and he's just feeling held back.
Right. I mean, honestly, for us, it's better that it's a trust. And excuse me, because as a trust, they can't remove any Bitcoins from the trust. The way the trust works is Bitcoin goes in and never comes out. So there's 69,000, 70,000 Bitcoins locked in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. It's actually better it stays as a trust. So that that stays in there. If it becomes an ETF, there's a chance that because it's the fund now, they can sell off. But seeing the way Bitcoin is going and the institutional adoption and global adoption is still growing, most likely there wouldn't be massive sell-offs, but probably corrections here or there. But yeah, so.
You more bullish on Bitcoin or Ethereum these days?
I would say about equal. If I'm thinking about what I'm holding, they're about equal. Now, I've never seen the two. I know a lot will say, well, you have Bitcoin maxis that hate Ethereum, and then you have, I wouldn't call Ethereum maxis, but just like altcoin maxis that hate Bitcoin because they think it's too slow, right? But I don't think the two competes with each other at all. They don't. If you're a Bitcoin maxi, you should not feel threatened by Ethereum. Ethereum does not take away from Bitcoin at all, not one bit. Bitcoin is a store of value. It's a digital gold. It's a hedge against inflation because it has done so well, appreciating it itself over the last decade or so. But right now it's not a smart contracts play. Okay, I know there's stacks and and they're trying to make Bitcoin DeFi play, but they're so far off from Ethereum and others. So it's not a DeFi play. It's not a dApps play. It's not a smart contracts play. So it doesn't, the two doesn't compete. Now, Bitcoin has exciting things like Lightning Network, which can make it a global, it's a monetary network, but make it even a better global monetary network. And Ethereum doesn't have that either, right? So on the flip side, if I'm arguing against Ethereum, well, it has the DeFi market, it has the most TVL, it has smart contracts, right? And that's all good, but Ethereum are still very costly. They don't have something like Lightning Network that could make transactions really fast and really feeless, at least right now. And Ethereum has an inflation rate. It's not meant to be a hedge. It's not meant to be a store value, even though there is value in Ethereum because of the network and the dApps, but the two doesn't compete. So I'm bullish on both equally.
What are your feelings going into the merge? Feeling good about that? I mean, it's definitely going to change Ethereum changing into proof of stake.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of people are speculating where the miners are going to go. And that's anyone's guess right now. Some will probably flow to Ethereum Classic. Some may go to, I don't know. I don't even know other projects, maybe like Digibyte or Flux or some of the other proof of work ones. Ergo is a new one. I think people are speculating where the miners should go, but ultimately moving to proof of stake for Ethereum would be a good thing. Their throughput is improved a little bit. I think right now it's 15 transactions per second. It goes up to about 75, which still can't compete with, say, Solana. But in order for them to start developing a scaling solution, they need to move to proof of stake first. So I think it's necessary. A lot of excitement over it. The one question mark is, I think it's like 7 billion or maybe even more, 7 to 10 billion worth of ETH that's locked in the beacon chain that can't be removed. Once it unlocks, that'll be interesting to see what happens. It's a good thing if you think about it, because we just went through a down period and people were complaining, oh, I couldn't unlock, I couldn't take out. That was actually good for them because that prevented them from panic selling. So that actually helped Ethereum and the holders a lot. But, as soon as the beacon chain, merges with the regular chain, if the market is doing good, then I expect those people that locked in will continue to keep staking. But if we somehow go through a down period and, they all unlock, well, that's going to be bad. But I don't see us going through another down period within the next, 3 months. And that's when, the merge is supposed to happen.
Well, they're calling it the triple halvening. If Bitcoin has a bullish catalyst every 4 years, goes through a halvening, the ETH bulls are tongue in cheek calling this the triple halvening. You know, ETH's going to have a 90% issuance, become deflationary. Do you put stock into that bullish thesis?
I don't know how it becomes deflationary. I get the argument that you have a lot of stakers. Okay, well, you will have a lot of stakers. And of course, you still have DeFi projects that's locking in, liquidity. TVL is still high. But ultimately, there is no, there's no proof of stake project out there that isn't inflationary, because you have to reward the stakers somehow. You have to give them something. You have to incentivize them to continue to stake. So I think Ethereum is still, I did not hear that they were going to supply cap themselves or anything. They will still be inflationary, although there will be forces that tries to counter that. I forgot burning is still, existing. But yeah, it's not going to be deflationary, and it's not going to be, and even if, the inflation rate is minimized, it's still not going to be like Bitcoin. Let's just put it that way.
I appreciate you keeping it candid, George. I guess one of my final questions is, let's think about the future. Bitcoin price prediction 2022, Ethereum price prediction. You said you thought Bitcoin could break all-time highs. How high do you think it could go? What about Ethereum?
I will stick with my old number, which is 100,000. And I think everyone picked that. It's a nice round 6-digit number. But, if you look at the charts, and I'm not a big chart guy, I'm not a big TA guy, but you could see, we're pressing against this resistance. And if we break through it, right, we're clear in the 50s and 60s. And once we're in 60s, all hell will break loose. FOMO will come back in. The funny thing is, if you look at the environment now, Bitcoin be at like 47s, 48. If you measure retail, like the retail FOMO interest, it's as low as when Bitcoin was at 4,000. It's like it really disappeared. The first time Bitcoin went to 64,000, there was a ton of FOMO interest, and I know you guys know that too. Like views on our videos were like 200,000 plus. Everything was like going crazy, right? And then when it fell down to 28,000, it seems like all that FOMO interest disappeared. We climbed back to 69,000. The FOMO just wasn't the same. And now that we're at 47,000, there's like no FOMO. and that's the funny thing. So I think after we hit 70,000 and we break through 69, that FOMO factor will come back in again. And it always does. Every time we go up a lot, there's going to be a lot of FOMO. But this time around, with FOMO, with the institutions still buying, the banks and they're all FOMOing right now. And plus you have the guys like Do Kwon from Terra that's still buying. Michael Saylor still buying. He has another $200 million he could use to buy Bitcoin, right? I think it's going to drive Bitcoin into 100,000 by the end of the year. I think that's a very, very possible scenario, and might be very conservative, seeing how the FOMO didn't really hit. Now, as for Ethereum, it's around 3,400, 3,500 right now. I think and Bitcoin will, do 2.5x. Ethereum is at least 3x. So you're looking at Ethereum being probably 10,000 and probably a little bit more than that. So 100,000 for Bitcoin, 10,000 for Ethereum.
I can't wait. And me personally, I can easily see a little buy the rumor, sell the news on the merged launch date, just because we do get that stuff locked up. But with the health of the market going up, obviously people are building on Ethereum. But anyway, George, thank you so much for joining us today. Always get great perspective from your channel. Links are down below. Final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily Army.
Continue to have patience and continue to DCA. That's honestly the best strategy anyone could have at this point.
Awesome.
I love it.
Thanks, George.